Welcome to the Visible Art of Translation podcasts. This series of podcasts are part of the EU-funded INCREC project. Our focus is creativity, translation, and technology in literary and audiovisual translation. Our goal with this series is to give visibility to the often invisible skills, role, and voice of professional translators. Thank you, Damián, for taking the time to come and talk to us.
Thank you, Anna, for the invitation. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you. Damián is a translator, subtitler, reviewer, lecturer in translation and audiovisual translation, speaker, organizer of conferences based in Buenos Aires, Argentina. He has translated over 1,000 episodes of TV series for different American networks like TNT, MTV, Fox, and many, many others. In addition, he has subtitled movies for local TV networks and international and national films festivals. He is the creator and director of the MA in Translation Technology, Localization, and Audiovisual Translation in the University of Buenos Aires, and also professor of the BA in Swan Translation at the same university. He created the conference ISPATAF that deals with audiovisual translation in the Spanish language, and he also runs the Spanish podcast En Sincronía with Blanca Arias Badia and Guillermo Parra. Welcome, Damián.
Thank you again, Anna.
So I wanted to ask you how you became a translator and how you started in this profession.
I think that like many others, I had since I was very little a passion for English. I started studying something different. I studied multimedia design, but at the time I was not able to continue studying while having to pay for whatever I needed to study that, because it was a very hardware intensive career. So I quit that, and then I started translation. And then on my second year of translation, I went to a conference, and then that's how I discovered titling and audiovisual translation in general. So at the beginning, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with translation, but then very soon I discovered that this was my passion, and also I was able to put together my passion for technology with audiovisual translation as well. And so those are my two main areas of expertise. I've been working in the audiovisual translation industry since 2007 and teaching translation technology since around 2009. So those are my two main areas, and the two more things that I like the most in this world, which are cinema and technology. So I was able to get that and put it together with translation. So I'm very happy with my profession.
Yeah, and you have been very successful. I was looking at your webpage and before the interview, and I saw that you have translated a lot of Argentinian movies
Yes.
that I know, that I have seen. So this means that you also translate from Spanish into English,
yes,
correct?
Yes, that's not very common in Europe, but in Latin America it is, or at least it should be, because in some careers, professors tell students not to translate into English. But I've been, for the last 10 years, I would say, my main clients are all Argentinian companies that have audiovisual content to translate into English. And those are my best clients, the ones that pay the most and the ones that give me the most successful experiences in translation. So yes, I think that for Latin American translators, being able to translate into English is something very, very important to be successful and by successful, I mean, and you might know this, not having a lot of money, but being able being able to live, translate, know that you don't need to do anything else, and that you have a good life and enjoy what you do, which is something that not many people can say in Latin America, and not only in the translation industries, but also in many other careers and professions. So I am a grateful person for what I have.
Yeah, and this is interesting that you translate these Argentinian movies, because I have always thought that it's difficult for somebody that is not Argentinian to translate the
Yes.
slang and the argot and all that into English. So from all these movies that you have translated and series, do you have a favorite one?
Uh, Actually, the project that I loved the most was a movie called El Robo del Siglo. I don't know if you heard of that.
I have seen it.
Yeah, you've seen it. So if you stayed up until the end, you will see my name in the credits, and that's something that I'm very proud of, because uh, in those projects we get to be in the credits, but with the rest of the people involved in the movie, not at the end in a subtitled by, and that's it. But we appear in the credits and translation, maybe that, and I think that all of those listening that have been in that position, I think it's kind of a different than just a subtitle at the end. So you feel like you are part of a team. So that's the movie I really enjoyed, and it's funny that you say that not all people can translate Argentinian Spanish into English. And when I teach a subtitling in my courses, I do have students from Peru, from Colombia, Mexico, and I always give my students, which are mostly from Argentina, a part of a movie, Argentinian movie, and they really, even though they are Latin American, there are some parts always that they don't know how to translate, and what would they do. So yes, I think there is a potential there, because we are the only ones, I believe, unless there's a translator in the US that was able to live in Argentina or in England at some point and understand the culture and all that. I think that there is something to say about translating into English this content. So I'm very happy to do this.
And what was the name of the movie? El Robo del Siglo
El
in
Reloj del
English?
Siglo. Money Heist, I think that was the name, because in that case they asked us to give them three different names
Okay.
and it was important because the term was going to appear. Let me check just a second. The Money Heist is the name from, because we're very similar, is the name of the Spanish series. And it was funny because we needed to use the term because the term would appear during in the translation, and we gave them options for the name, but it wasn't until the very end of the project that they told us, okay, we're going to use this name. So the name that they used was The Heist of the Century. So heist was a very important word for the translation. So we needed to know if they were going to use heist or robbery or whatever. And so that was funny. But yes, and I mean, in those projects, you get to talk with the producers, and even in some cases, I was able to meet with the directors of the movies. So I think I mean, I love translating for streaming companies, and I will continue doing that, but the experience is completely different.
Um, I, we should tell probably the audience or the listeners that translators do not decide the title of the movies, because so many times we hear the complaint, right? That,
Yeah.
oh, this is the wrong title. This is not the title in the original language, but it's the distribution company, right, that
Yeah.
decides the title.
Yeah, it's a marketing thing. And actually in my courses, that's the first thing that people ask me, but what about the titles and all that? And so that's why I mention it, because it even in that case, even in the case of that movie, we were able to participate even in the process of choosing a title, which is
Exactly.
something that it doesn't come too easy. So now those are very happy. But then I had many projects that make me so proud. I have just finished delivering today a series of short videos for kids in which we had to translate songs, and there was a quite creative process in there. So it's different now because I do have two kids, and whenever I get to translate something that's for children, I try to give them and the rhymes and all that to see if they would work in Spanish, and and that's a different part of the process that I get to enjoy nowadays when translating. So I think that for translators, we are always happy with, or at least in my case, we're always happy with what we did yesterday. So because that's something, it's not always that, oh, I had this lovely project that I did 10 years ago. Yes, there are cases in which that would happen, but you love this profession so much that whatever you did yesterday, that's your best project, I think. So that's what I was thinking about this other thing.
And you mentioned the word creativity. And as you know, our project, our research project deals with creativity. So maybe I would like to ask you, what is creativity for you in translation?
Oh, I think it's a very difficult question, and I will listen to all the episodes to see what translators answer here, because I think there won't be the same answer. I would say that creativity is what makes us human as translators. So I think even though it's something that many people have already said, I think that if you consider the process when you are, for instance, doing a project with post-editing or something like that, and then that you are kind of inside of a square with this translation that you have to deal with, and when having to apply creativity to a project, you always say, okay, I have like 5 different versions for this phrase, for this thing. And so I think that the possibility of thinking about it, changing, putting to rest what your ideas, and then going back to change them, that process is very human, and I think that this definition is the best that I can give for creativity in translation. And I think, and as you mentioned at the beginning, I do teach the University of Buenos Aires, where our students are specialized in legal translation. And I always tell them that there is creativity in every type of translation. I'm not always so happy with the term creative translation or something like that, because I think that every translation has a creativity, a different degree, of course, but that quality that makes us human, it's present in no matter what you do in translation. So I would define it that way.
And maybe for our listeners that are not very familiar, they see the subtitles um, even in their own language. Some people like to watch movies with subtitles, or need to watch movies with subtitles. But I don't think the general public knows exactly what subtitles do. How would you explain what you do to our listeners?
Well, that's a great question. Well, subtitling is something that it's there in the screen. The subtitles are there in the screen, but you don't get to notice them. If you notice there's text in the screen, then we did something wrong. And so I think that nowadays subtitles are one of the most interesting parts of audiovisual translation, because the use that they have has changed a lot. Because nowadays, for instance, you have people that want to have subtitles that resemble the dub version, people who use subtitles to learn language. For instance, whenever I'm watching with my 9-year-old a TV show, I don't use the dub versions because I want her to read. So subtitles do have like this broad spectrum of different possibilities, and for translators it is a challenge, because we need to summarize most of the time what people are saying in the screen, trying to resemble what they are saying in with words out loud, but we need to write it down, and it needs to be like a bridge between the oral text and the written text. So it's not always easy, and for particularly for neutral Spanish, for Latin American Spanish, which is what I do, we do have like a huge connection. Well, many other languages do as well, of course, but we do have a strong connection with the English language. So it's also very difficult for some translators to get out of that structure, because the English is like very engraved in our culture, but also the fact that we do have neutral Spanish doesn't allow us to be super creative with the translation. And so subtitling in Latin America needs to deal with a lot of challenges. So whenever we prepare subtitles for people, what we need to have is something that does not resemble the grammatical, lexical structures of the English language, but in any case, it is written in a language that nobody speaks, that nobody writes in. And so it's quite difficult. It's quite a challenge. I think that there are other languages that have a similar challenge that we do here in Latin America. But I think that subtitling is a wonderful, it's lovely, and subtitles always make it better, because I know that I don't want to sound like those people who like to say that the dubbing takes away the original voices and all that, because that is a very old discussion and doesn't make any sense. I believe in audiovisual products for everyone. If you want to go see a dub version, that's okay with me. But I think there's a magic with being able to listen to the original voices of the original audio, and while being able to read something that's very interesting in your language. And sometimes you can do it in neutral Spanish, and sometimes you can't. But I think that is the most wonderful thing about this is that it's very, very challenging. Every project is very, very challenging. So that's why I love it so much.
Yeah, maybe we should, or you should explain to people what neutral Spanish is,
Okay.
because I don't think they would be familiar with this concept.
Yes. So in Latin America, we do have 19 countries which have Spanish as an official language, but also we need to add to that list the United States, that has over 40 million people talking Spanish. But for financial reasons, there are no local Spanish translations. That means if you are watching Netflix, it doesn't matter if you are watching it in Argentina, in Peru, in Colombia, in Venezuela, it's always the same translation. That's why neutral Spanish has to be something that cannot be considered Mexican Spanish or Argentinian Spanish or Venezuelan Spanish, because everyone in Latin America will see the same translation. So if I'm in Colombia, I wouldn't like to see subtitles or dub versions with Argentinian terms and Argentinian voices, talking Argentinian all the time. So the idea with neutral Spanish is that it is the same version for every country. So this has some pros and some things that are not so good about this. For instance, the most important thing is that you can be in whatever part that you want in Latin America, and your skills as a translator will serve to work as a neutral Spanish translator. Because, for instance, I wouldn't be able to translate into Spanish from Spain. So that's a thing. And but also this problem, the problem with this is that it has an effect on creativity, on a more natural expression, because when you have to deal with, for instance, I don't know, insults or street language, or you have to be very creative, for instance, in the case of, I don't know, writing a song with rhymes, with phrases, with slang and all that, there is a restriction there. So that's the part that I don't like the most, but I do defend, because I'm always going to say that it's better to have a neutral Spanish than to have a Spanish coming from one country and having to read that Spanish in the rest of the countries, because we are very different here in Latin America.
Yeah, maybe we should explain as well that the Spanish in each country is quite different. It would be
Yes.
like American English or UK English,
Yes.
even within, between Argentina and, say, Peru.
Yes.
So it's not that, because people might think that because it's Latin America, we all speak the same language, and we do, but with great differences.
Yes. And you don't have to go that deep and talk about slang or insults, and with things of your everyday life, like,
of course,
fruits, vegetables, the clothes that you wear. If you're going to Uruguay, you're going to buy shoes, then those are called championes in Uruguay. In Argentina, we call them zapatillas, and we are like 2 hours away from
exactly.
Uruguay. So it's very different.
You mentioned the challenges when translating, and one of them is neutral Spanish to make a text that is understandable in 19 countries. What other challenges do you see in audiovisual translation?
Well, nowadays it's impossible not to deal with this question without mentioning machine translation and all that. I think that the main problem that we have here regarding with this is there are many companies trying to use machine translation on their favor, and giving you, I don't know, text that they're trying to pay for the translation like a 50% of the rate, and in many cases with the different problematics that you find in the visual translation, in subtitling in particular, because of neutral Spanish, because of constraints, because of many things that are specific for subtitling. In many cases, you cannot use what the machine brought. So the problem is the use that some companies give to it. So I think that's one of the main challenges, because there are, it's not as wide as some people think. If you, I don't know, read newspapers, or I was watching some those people that are always trying to guess what is going to happen in the future, and they're always on TV, but they do not really have like a scientific background, and they're always saying, well, okay, what profession is going to disappear in 5 years? Translation, of course, that we are always first on that list. And when you dive in and you listen, for instance, I was listening to a podcast episode of a CEO of a huge company that makes a visual translation, and he mentioned that they do not use machine translation in the process. So, I mean, of course, there are what he said, and is something that is, and I believe too, there are many things which are using now the visual translation with machine translation. And if they would not do it with that, they would not do it at all. So I think that sometimes the challenges that appear before us are not as big as we think. And I think there are some companies, some players in this audiovisual translation industry that want to use that to bring down rates and all that. But if you, like I always say to my students, if you get work with a serious, a respectable company, you would see that things are quite different than what you thought they were. And what I'm always saying my students regarding subtitling is kind of related with this, that there is also a challenge with technology in general, because we have now sometimes I say that some companies, some streaming companies, value more what you do in a technical aspect, for instance, timing perfectly the subtitles, than the translation itself. So this is now a time in which you need to know a lot of technology and a lot of tools and a lot of technical aspects, particularly with subtitling. It's not the same with dubbing, because with dubbing, there are changes, there is new software, but it's not the same as subtitling. But with subtitling, you need to deal with shot changes and, I don't know, timing to perfection, and not I don't know, characters per second, characters per line. But in the past, when I started, in 2007, I would create my subtitles in a Word file, and someone would come after me and time the subtitles whatever they wanted to, and they were not even translators. But now you have to deal with this, and some people are quite creative and they can do wonderful translations. But when it comes to technology, I think there are some barriers there. So I think I would say it's a challenge, a good challenge nowadays.
And would you say that when viewers are confronted with text or subtitles that have been translated using machine translation, do you think the reader experience is different?
I want to think that it is, but as you know, in Argentina and Latin America in general, we've been translating with I don't know, using fan servers for like 20 years, you know. So I think there's a huge part of the population here that is used to seeing awful subtitles in any case, not only bad translations, but also, I don't know, 3 lines instead of 2, subtitles with footnotes or something that would never appear. So there's a huge part of the population that grew up downloading movies and downloading subtitles, and maybe they were part of a fansour organization. They are not so common anymore because, as you know, these pages where you can download subtitles now, they just download the subtitles from the original platforms and they upload those. So I think that fan subbing is now reserved to anime and not much more. But I don't know. That is something that I think that deserves further research, and because
Indeed.
Yes, I think that is something that needs to be explored.
If machine translation replaces professionals, as the media says, what would a world without translators look like?
So it would be a very sad world. Yes, because I think that I love technology and I use it all the time. I do have a lot of gadgets here at home. I use ChatGPT. I mean, I'm not a person that is against technology, as you might have imagined, but I am against replacing the human experience in I mean, I would really like a machine, I don't know, an artificial intelligence robot that would do the dishes and do the laundry for me, because I do spend a lot of time doing the laundry here at home, and so I can concentrate in translation. So I hope that and this will come to the audience. I hope that human creativity, human translation will continue to thrive. I think it will. The industry is quite strong. It's been growing for like 10 years now. So I wouldn't like to think about that world without translators, because I don't think that will ever happen. But if it does, it would be a very sad world.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. So thank you very much, Damián, for participating in our podcast.
Thank you for this opportunity. As you know, I do have a podcast, so I'm always on the other side. So it's weird to be here on this side of the interview. But good luck with this, and I love this project. Thank you, Ana, for the invitation.
Thank you, Damián. Thank you again to our invited speaker, and to our listeners. Thank you for being there, and feel free to share our podcasts with your family, friends, and colleagues. This is part of a series of podcasts of the EU-funded INCREC project. So follow us for more episodes, and please share your comments on this platform. See you next time.